Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Liz Live. We have an exciting show for you today, like always, and I couldn't help but choose the topic of lying because we are seeing so much lying going on in front of us on the news. We're hearing all these different messages from politicians trying to get our vote right now. And we're also hearing a lot from the media. And, you know, I think if there's something to designate the time that we're going through, it's sort of the age of smoke and mirrors. And how do you decide or choose what to, how do you choose really what to, hold on a second. I'm getting a message from Facebook. Your live video is only because it may contain music. Okay. Can everybody still hear me? I just got a block sign from Facebook. So just someone confirm if you can hear me. Somebody write something. Just want to make sure everyone can hear me. I don't know what's going on, guys. You let me know if you can hear me. Can you guys hear me okay? Anybody? Did the stream go off? Okay, all right, I'm gonna start a new live link. Thank you for calling me. All right, bye. Good morning, everybody. If you just were tuning into Liz Live and you lost me, that is because Facebook blocked me, I believe, because of the music I was playing, which I do every show, and I've never been blocked. But this wouldn't be Liz Live without some sort of technical difficulty. So I'm going to give everyone a moment to come back, to log on, to click on, and I apologize for that, but it wouldn't be Liz Live if we didn't have some sort of technical difficulty, because that's what happens with live streaming, and so that's okay. So I just want to make sure that everyone gets a chance to get back on, and our live link should be clear now. And for those of you who got to hear the music, it was a song by Led Zeppelin, Your time is going to come, and it's talking about people who lie, people who cheat, people who are dishonest. And it's one of my favorite songs, and I'm sorry that they cut it off, but maybe we'll try it on the way out and see what happens. But in any case, welcome to Liz Live, and we're talking today about dishonesty. We're talking about lies, who tells the lies, why people tell lies, how do you detect if somebody is lying, and we're going to look at some of the back on. Okay, good, Tara. And thank you, Doc, for calling me and letting me know what was going on. I really appreciate that. And so we're going to definitely today, we're going to talk about all these things. And there's so much going on, of course, always in the mainstream that it's so easy for us to figure out who's lying and who's not. If you're a person that watches the news like a hawk, if you watch it every day, you can kind of understand and see what's happening. But if you don't do that and you're just turning in and you're just tuning in on the fly to different newscasts, a lot of people are telling me they feel like it's impossible to tell the truth from a lie. So I also, as a therapist, I work every day with people, with couples and individuals, but so many couples that where somebody has cheated. And I've been doing it for so long, and I've been meeting with people for so long that lie and that do cheat and so on and so forth, that I've become quite good at picking out the liars and the cheaters and kind of understanding, I would say, the makeup of a liar. And I'm going to really have fun. We're going to have fun today because I'm going to explain kind of what's going on in politics and the news media through showing you also what is happening inside some of the couples that I treat where there's been an affair. Okay, so you know the FBI, who is obviously our Federal Bureau of Intelligence, they've been trying to figure out the profile of a liar since the beginning of time. And there really is no specific profile per se of a liar, because we all lie at some point or the other, whether we're willing to admit that or not. We all lie. And of course, you know, you've heard the term white lie, which is supposed to be like a little harmless lie. And then we've heard of compulsive lying and so on and so forth. And we've also heard that, you know, you tell one lie and one lie can grow into 20 more lies to keep up that one lie. So lying, again, it's something that we all do. We all do it to different degrees for different reasons. And I think that if, you know, we're not lying and we're being honest, we have all lied in our lifetime. I've never met anyone that I really would believe if they told me they've never lied. But how you do it, why you do it, and how often you do it is, you know, a question that I'm going to try and help you guys determine that today. So first of all, why do people lie, period? Okay, and there's a couple reasons that people lie. But usually the main reason people lie is to either avoid some sort of pain or some kind of trouble, okay, facing something about themselves or facing some sort of shameful act that they did, so they lie to hide it, to cover it up. And also people lie, I think, a lot of times to inflate their status in the world, right? So, you know, the really compulsive liars have a tendency to really exaggerate the truth and really make things up to make them look more important or somehow more acceptable or better to society. And of course, there's a lot of other reasons, but when you cut it down to the basics, those are usually the two reasons people lie. It's either make themselves look better by sort of inflating or exaggerating, or to cover something up that they are ashamed of, or to avoid the consequences of that shame, of that act. Okay, so, and if people lie, which is basically making up a story or saying something that is not true, and once people do that, what it does is it puts that little seed in people's minds that maybe this person's telling the truth, or maybe that is true. So, for example, if I lied about, let's say, what happened this morning, okay, so my show got blocked because I was playing, I guess, copyrighted music, okay, so that's why they cut me down. Now, I could have lied and said, gee, I don't know, there was some glitch with the internet and I don't understand what happened, because, maybe that would avoid the quote unquote wrongdoing of me using copyrighted music, which I do every show and they usually don't shut it down. But anyway, so if I were ashamed of that, I could have lied and made up some excuse. And then even if some of you know who are watching that probably wasn't the truth, that my internet just cut down for no reason, if I say it, a lot of people might go, oh, that sounds reasonable. Maybe her internet just shut down. Happens to all of us. Or maybe, you would have just accepted it as true and not even thought about it. So there's so many reasons and ways that people can use lies. And one of the most popular lies that people tell are in marriages when somebody has had an affair. And of course, I work with couples every day where somebody's had an affair, and probably 8 out of 10 couples that go to therapy, somebody's had an affair. And so the amount of lying and story making that goes on when there's been an affair within a couple can be daunting for the person who's being lied to or cheated on. And for me, I'm trying to help people stay together typically, or improve their marriage despite the lying and the affairs. And that is quite a challenging job for me. But because of that, I've really learned how to spot a liar. I've learned patterns of liars, and I've learned body language of liars as well, that really do help me. And I want to help all of you know when somebody's lying to you and when they're not. So first of all, I want to say this one. When you're dealing with other people that you suspect could be lying, the first thing you need to ask yourself is, what is their agenda? And this is true in politics, and it's true in marriages. So if you believe that you're being lied to by your spouse or your child or whomever, you have to think, okay, what is this person's agenda? Meaning, what is it they want me to believe? What is it that their goal is setting out? What are they setting out to do? Are they setting out to stay in the marriage? Are they setting out to get out of the marriage? Is their agenda to get you back? Is it to get rid of you? Is it to perhaps, win a political race or what? So you always have to think about the agenda, and that's where you can begin. Okay, what is this person's angle? What is their agenda? And that will give you the basis of where the lies are coming from. So I always ask myself when I think somebody's like, okay, what is the agenda here? What does this person really want to do? And then I have to start analyzing what's being said and try to put all the pieces of the puzzle together. And it can be very confusing and very, convoluting, because people who are liars on the regular are very good at it. They're very good at lying. But one of the best signs of a liar can always be seen in eye contact. So I know that my clients are probably lying to me when they don't make direct eye contact with me. And so when I'm in the office and I'm sitting across from people, I always make sure I look them very directly in the eyes. And if I cannot make eye contact with them when they're talking, there's a very good chance that they could be lying. You can also look at body language and see if they fidget or they go to grab or to touch something when they're saying something that you think could be a lie. So the body language and the eye contact is extremely important. And that's why I always tell couples and families, if you suspect your child's lying or you suspect that your spouse is lying to you, you need to make sure that when you talk to them, you really look at them in the eye, and to determine if they can make eye contact with you and if you see the fidgeting start. And I even took a course with the Pittsburgh FBI a couple years ago, and this was a lot of the things that they were teaching me as well, that, body language and eye contact are huge. But when people get really good at lying, and some people are famously good at it because they've been doing it their whole lives, they're the ones that are really, really difficult to suspect and to catch because they're smooth. They don't necessarily fidget or have a problem looking you straight in the eye and lying. And this is when things get really tricky. And this is why, gathering as much evidence as you can, whether you're a spouse who's been cheated on or whether you're trying to make a political decision in this current society, is so important. And, we hear a lot these days about, searching for the truth, and we have to search for the truth and fight for the truth and look for the truth. And it's very, very difficult when you have the powers that be sort of covering up for you. Okay. And so I want to compare what's happening to Joe Biden's son and Joe Biden to a family where someone's had an affair. And it may sound like a big leap, and how the hell is she going to make this connection? But I've thought long and hard about this, and so I'm going to give this my best shot, and we're going to talk about it. Okay, so first of all, the big story right now in politics is this laptop that Hunter Biden supposedly dropped off at a repair shop somewhere in Delaware, I think about a year ago and change. And I guess he forgot to pick it up or something. I don't know exactly what happened. And the repairman, I suppose, was so, I guess, concerned or blown away by the information that he saw on this laptop, that he decided to turn it over to the FBI. And this in itself is, I think, newsworthy. Just alone, it doesn't mean that much, but it could potentially mean something. Because until we know the contents of the laptop, I mean, he could have, Mickey Mouse on there, and, who cares? But he's a pretty big guy with, pretty big, political movings and shakings and so on and so forth. So, it's worth acknowledging, what did he see that was so disturbing that he actually took it to the FBI? So I think right there, what would the agenda be, for example, of this repairman at a computer repair shop? I mean, what possibly could his agenda be? He owns a computer repair shop, and he had to turn over, a pretty important person's, laptop to the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I don't think his agenda could be much other than pretty, straightforward. He didn't want to be ever caught for seeing certain information that is potentially illegal, so he did what his conscience told him to do, and he handed it over to the authorities. Okay, so I don't know what other agenda he would have, but of course, if anyone has other, ideas about it, I'm definitely open to hearing that. Okay, so imagine, and this happens all the time, where I have a client that comes in and she says, I looked at the phone bill, the cell phone bill, and I saw like 3, 4, 5 phone calls a day between, my husband and one of his coworkers. And I just see this all the time. It's very common. And so they'll bring this information to me, and they'll say, well, what do you think it's about? And I'll say, well, I don't know. I mean, why would your husband need to talk to this woman, 4 or 5 times a day? Is there some reason? What would be the agenda? And, would there be any good reason why they would need to talk? Or would you find it inappropriate? Okay. And this happens, honest to God, this happens like weekly. Okay. So generally when people are having an affair, there's people who know about it. So it might be the people at work, it might be a couple of close friends, it might be your family, but usually, again, 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, when somebody's having an affair, other people in the family know about it. And so the reason that a lot of times people come to a therapist to try to figure out if their spouse is cheating or not is because I don't have an agenda. I'm not trying to save face for their husband. I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm trying to help them figure out the truth so that if they were betrayed in their marriage, they can, face that fact with their spouse and decide what they want to do about it, right? So I don't really have an agenda, kind of like the guy who owned the computer repair shop. I mean, he's a computer repairman. He's not involved in politics. He's not involved in any of this. But something came across that was so alarming and so disturbing to him that he just had to hand this over to the FBI. Okay, so it's kind of like the beginning stages of something being found out where, a wife or husband will come to me with like the phone bill or some text messages that they found between, their spouse and a coworker. It's the beginning stages, right? No real agenda at the beginning other than to discover, what's really going on. So then once I start investigating, with my clients, and once the FBI starts investigating this laptop, of course, the FBI is not allowed to say anything or comment or confirm or deny any information about an ongoing investigation. Just the same as a therapist, I'm not allowed to confirm or deny that I'm seeing anyone or not. So if somebody called me from this client's family and said, "Hey, Elizabeth, we heard there's suspicion of an affair in my, daughter-in-law and son's life," I can't confirm or deny that. FBI can't confirm or deny it. So from there, this is where things get a little crazy. Okay, so somehow, somewhere, somebody was able to get information off of this laptop that is, I would say, a cause for pause, a cause for concern. Now, the question is, who is it that saw the information on this laptop aside from the FBI, and how do we know whether it's something to really consider as meaningful or not? Well, we took it a step further, and basically somehow the former business partners of Hunter Biden are in prison, and some investigative reporters got a hold of them and to try to confirm whether or not the information in these emails that they were able to see were true. I mean, somebody leaked it somewhere, I don't know where, to the New York Post, or I don't know how they figured this all out. And so now, of course, there's more and more information that could be, potentially, leading to an implication where potentially President Biden was paid money in a deal that Hunter made to use his influence to, I guess, do something there with, I don't know, the Chinese government and or the Ukrainian government. It's a little fuzzy right now. So I would liken that to an affair when you start discovering more and more information, and there's a lot of spyware out these days that people can put on their cell phones, and those cell phones then can show you all the information that your spouse is receiving on their phone. And it's very easy to do. I was pretty shocked when I first looked into it with a client of mine that you can basically track your spouse's cell phone for about $30, and you can just very simply, put their number in and then start receiving all their text messages and all their phone calls. Well, many of my clients who believe that they're being cheated on have gone that route, and they start to get all these text messages between their spouse and whoever they are possibly having an affair with. And this is where things get really crazy. And just stay with me one second, because I'm gonna keep going. I know this is a little confusing, but just hold on a second. Okay, so now you start getting the emails right off the Hunter Biden's laptop. You start getting some text messages between your spouse and their affair partner. So now things are becoming a little bit more real, and you actually have some evidence that there's communication between these two parties, and this is what's said. And so at this point, this is the point in when the, I would say, the shameful event or the embarrassing issue that people want to avoid starts to come out. And my friends, this is where the lies begin. Okay? So once some of this information comes out that is undeniable, like a text message, for example, between your husband and this woman that he works with saying, I miss you, or can't wait to see you, or I loved being with you last night, or I can't stop thinking about you, you can be pretty sure that, there's something going on there. I mean, if it looks like a duck and it acts like a duck, it's a duck. Okay. So if we look at what's going on with the Biden emails, and you guys can read all of this information for yourself. I'm not making anything up. I've read about probably 15 different articles on this story, and to be honest, they're quite confusing. Most of the articles, they are not written well and they're kind of circular, but there's a lot of information and connecting information that you have to really read through slowly to see if you can really understand what's happening. So now that there's some information that could potentially implicate Joe Biden, and definitely implicates Hunter Biden as having some issues, now the lies begin. And so when we're talking about how to know if somebody's lying and how to be sure about that, you have to break down the whole scenario. So if we go back to, if we stay with thinking about this laptop and the FBI investigating it, and by the way, we have the Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe. He confirmed Monday that there is no intelligence supporting that this laptop was any kind of Russian disinformation. So that was the first lie, that the Biden campaign was trying to get out of this mess by lying. Okay? And of course they're going to lie about it. Why would they lie about it? It's obvious, right? Joe Biden's running for president of the United States. The election's in 2 weeks, and he wants to win. Okay? Trump wants to win too. Let's make no mistake about that. But there is no, issue of dishonesties at the moment pending. In fact, everyone that there was against Donald Trump has basically been dismissed or thrown out of court. So right now, the story is on Joe Biden. So we don't know how, if he's the one implicated or the son. There's sort of rumors if he's referred to as the big guy, but Hunter Biden's former partners who are in jail probably aren't too happy, and they're basically gave the password to their emails to investigative reporters to go through 27,000 emails. So whatever is there is there. So let the lies begin. Okay, so we have confirmation from high legal authorities, that law enforcement authorities, that indeed the FBI has the laptop, but they won't comment on it. We know that there is no, this is not like a Russian infiltration, which is the first lie that's going on by the Democratic Party, because they want to cover Joe Biden because they want to win. And so they have to think really fast about how we're going to cover up this situation for Joe Biden, okay? So if we now flip over to the husband who got caught in his marriage, who found the wife found, evidence of communications that were beyond inappropriate between her husband and another woman, that's where I see all the lies begin. And I'm going to tell you some of the lies that I've heard from husbands, okay? And then we're going to compare them to some of the lies we're hearing about Biden, okay? So what would be the agenda of the husband who cheated and got caught, or who's cheating and got caught? Usually it's to save the marriage, right? He doesn't want to get thrown out. He doesn't want his family to find out because people are totally embarrassed. They're ashamed. They don't want to hurt their kids. So the first thing usually people do is they lie about it. And what is the most famous lie that every person who has ever cheated on their spouse comes up with? Nothing sexual happened. We were just friends. And it got a little carried away. If I had $1 for every time I heard this, nothing happened. It was just a little emotional affair. We never had sex. And of course, most cases, you can't really prove whether that's true or not unless you have film of them actually having sex. As long as somebody says, I never had sex with that woman, maybe reminiscent a bit of the Clinton era. I never had sex with that woman. I never had sexual relationships with that woman. I don't know, those text messages, you're misreading them. You're misinterpreting them. And we never had sex. That is this stock excuse for every man and woman that's ever been in my office when they first get caught. Okay? And then there might even be a text message that says, I love you, between a husband and the cheating partner. And the husband will still deny and say, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. Because as long as the husband comes up with something to deflect, in their minds, they might get away with this. And that's what people want to do. They want to get away with the crime. They want to get away with the bad event so that they don't have to face the shame, the embarrassment, and all the destruction that these lies can bring to their family. And the same thing is happening in the Biden laptop case. But the difference is that rather than it being the lies coming from Hunter or Joe Biden, it's coming from their Democratic friends and from the media. And so they're one Democratic friend, because all the Democrats have an agenda and they want to be in power and they want Trump out of power. So they cannot let this story go. They have to cover it up. They have to shut it up. They have to get rid of it. They have to discredit it. And that's how you use lies to, basically get what you want. So now they're basically saying, first lie was from Adam Shifty Schiff, I believe, as President Trump calls him. Shifty Schiff said it was a complete Russian disinformation, which, again, the director of national intelligence said was an out and out lie, was not true. Okay, so that was the first attempt to cover it up. Second attempt, we're going to go to Joe Biden and we're going to ask him about this. And we're not going to mention his involvement, but do you have any comment, Mr. Vice President Biden, on, your son's email, laptop, or your emails being looked at in the laptop, showing these things? And he said, it's nothing but a smear campaign. It's a smear campaign. Right? Just like the cheating husband says, oh, it's not what you see. It's a lie. They're making it up. Someone made it up. Whoever told you about my affair, they're lying, right? That's the first obvious step of lying, is let's discredit the information that's showing that I'm lying. Let's deflect and make up other stories that could maybe put a seed of doubt in somebody else's mind. So these are just the classic steps of lies and cover-ups that you are seeing. And I think there's a lot of reasons why this is so important for us as the American people to really understand. And I'm going to keep kind of going. So I hope everybody's with me so far, because I know it's a little bit complicated what I'm doing. The story's complicated, but I really want to explain to people how these lies get told and what the standard way of dealing with cover-ups. This is just all classic stuff. All right. So it's a smear campaign. It's Russian disinformation, which that's been completely blown that it's a lie by the director of national intelligence. That's a pretty powerful guy. So we're going to discredit and we're going to flip the script and we're going to lie about it. We're not going to take responsibility. That's always the way it goes. And then once the cheating husband or cheating wife discredits the sources of information, discredits the evidence, then the next thing that they do is they'll discredit anybody who would possibly agree that it's true. Okay, so now you get into bigger branches of lying, because the cheating husband might call his buddies who know about it, or call his sister or family or friends and parents and say, listen, I'm having big trouble in my marriage. I made a mistake. This is, what I did. And I think, Elizabeth's going to find out, and, I don't know what to do about it. And do you think that the cheating wife or husband's family is going to turn against him? Oh no, that is not what happens when there's an affair. Families tend to stick by their blood. And they don't want to be involved, and they don't want to, rock the boat. So they will continue the cover up and the lies. And so if you look at the Democratic Party as the family of Joe and Hunter Biden, because that's basically, they all have the same agenda, which is to win the presidency of the United States. That's happening right now. Their family, the Democratic Party, is going to cover it up by throwing all kinds of lies, stories, and discrediting anybody who is following the story and, revealing the truth of the very uncomfortable information that we're hearing is in this laptop by people who have actually read through the emails. So that's kind of how it works, guys. And there's layers and layers of people and friends and family that will always try to fight for their friend, their family member who did an embarrassing deed, and try to cover up for them. And it's never just, the person who lied. It's never, just their cover up. There's a lot of people involved that go to kind of, flip scripts. And a lot of times what people who are lying will do is, another tactic is they'll flip it around on you, and they'll tell you that you're crazy. So then you start questioning yourself, right? So if, and I've seen this happen before my own eyes. I've seen people find out that their spouse is cheating, and their spouse will still hold on to the lie, even when there's text messages and videos and pictures. They'll still, the really pathological liars will say, you're crazy, you made me do it, you don't do this or do that with me. And and the lies continue, and they go on and on and on. And it's my job to sort of detect all this, unravel it, and try and get to the heart of the matter to satisfy the couple. And of course, I find that this is very interesting, watching all of these basic lies and cover-ups go on right in front of me, and the American people almost don't care. Now, what's interesting about this Hunter Biden laptop story is that not only have the Democrats tried to discredit the information providers, but and flip the script on the Russians, but they also have their friends in the media. And the media, there's a lot of major media that has not even covered the story. And not only have they not even covered it, which means they're going to give this cover up no attention, because if they give it no attention, nobody knows what's going on. Nobody thinks it's a big deal. Nobody cares. Nobody follows it. But now they also have social media, the social media outlets, some of them, backing up the lies and cover up as well. So you may have heard that Twitter actually blocked the New York Post article from being retweeted or being shared amongst people. So that would sort of be like, if your mother-in-law found these text messages between her son and another woman, and her daughter-in-law was trying to send them around to the family, don't you think that the mother would make up some story and try and stop her from sharing those emails? Of course she would, because she doesn't want to be embarrassed by what her son did. And she's going to cover up for her son just the same way that Twitter and social media and big tech and the media and everybody is covering this story up, because they don't want their guy to suffer and have to face up to these lies, and they don't want to lose the campaign. And that's where things get really interesting. So I hope everyone has followed me thus far, and I'm going to see there's our producer is putting a lot of things on the screen. So let me see what she has going on here. Good morning, Tara. It's hard to determine if someone is lying if the media never asks them any questions. Well, that's true. So if, for example, if people didn't come to therapy and have, a neutral party trying to get to the root of the matter, a lot of the truth of these affairs may never even come out. And it's not that I go digging in my clients' personal lives and try to come up with evidence, but I try to look at what evidence my clients have discovered and help them face their spouse who they believe is having an affair. And you should see what goes on in my office sometimes. It's pretty crazy, but unfortunately I have to deal with these kind of things in my line of work, and it seems like it's pretty typical in the media as well, in politics, and yeah, if no one asks questions, there's nothing to comment on. Why do people continue to lie even when they've been caught lying? Tara, I see this all the time. Okay. And I think it's desperation. I think that people believe, and I remember asking my supervisor when I was training at Aventura Psychiatric Hospital, why do so many of these people lie so much? And she said, because as long as people lie, they will it's a possibility that somebody might believe it. So they throw out all these little seeds of lies and see if any of them grow. And it's just a way to deflect and avoid facing the truth. And it's almost an instinct to survive. And I think that when people know that they're going to be in big trouble, they will do anything to survive. And if they continue to lie, then it might just work out for them. It just might work out. Are pathological liars incapable of telling the truth? Well, that depends. Pathological liars, they can maybe tell a truth per se, but generally pathological liars, meaning people who just lie all the time for no reason, like every day, they'll just lie for more of the thrill of it than they'll lie for, even a reason that makes sense. So like some of you may have met people in your life who just lie to lie. I've had clients like that. They just make up stories for no apparent reason. It's just an addiction. It's like an obsession, a compulsion with them. And they just lie about things that, it's just, there's not even an agenda with it. It's just what they do. How is it that intelligent people cannot spot a liar? Or is it that they really don't want to know the truth? I think that if you look at what's going on right now, people are very, polarized politically and have their team and the person that they love. So, they love President Trump, or maybe they love Biden, and or they hate President Trump and they want their guy to win. And I think people have real anxieties about what would happen to them and what would happen to this country if their guy did not win. And I think people are running scared. And so it's easier to just go with the lies than to have to face that, your opposition is telling the truth, or that your guy is, this corrupt or this bad. And it's kind of like, imagine if, somebody in your family or someone that you really, really love, committed a crime. It really is devastating. And it's devastating for people to find out that they've been cheated on. And it's easier to ignore it or to believe the lies than to actually face up to the pain of the betrayal of somebody, of your spouse, lying and betraying you. It's horrible. So yeah, I think people just, it's so painful to face a lot of these things. And if you do believe it, it breaks the foundation of not just what the thing that was lied about, but everything that you believe is true. It's like, why do people like people believe in Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy, right? And parents are very careful about how and when they tell their child that Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy aren't real. Why? Because it's devastating to a child. And then they wonder why they were lied to about it. And that's just on a little scale. So imagine if you put your faith in somebody to lead the country, to be your president, and you believed in him and you believed that he was good. And then you find out that no, in fact, he was about to, sell out our country for, $10 million. It's hard to wrap your brain around it. It's hard to believe that people are capable. And so it's easier for our brain. Our brains are wired to go towards pleasure and to avoid pain. That's the basic part of our basic human instincts. So when we hear something painful or we learn about something painful, our first reaction is no, that can't be. It's denial. It can't be. It can't be true. It's too painful. No, there's no way that person would lie about that. There's no way my husband would lie to me. There's no way my wife would lie to me or have sex with another person. There's no way. So it's much easier to avoid that pain than really having to sit there and absorb the truth of the matter. The truth hurts a lot of times. And so, yes, it's just so much easier to stay in our little fantasy land than have to look at it. And that's how intelligent people, sometimes don't spot a liar. Sometimes people are just naive, they're just naive and they don't even believe that people could lie to the level in which they do. And it is unbelievable, to be honest with you. My ex was caught red-handed in a lie, but he continued with the lies. The point that it was pathetic. What is the point? Well, the point is your ex continuing to not connect to how he's hurt you and to not want to connect to the trouble that he caused you. And again, it seems like a marriage and politics, would have no connection, but I'm connecting them by explaining how human behavior is human behavior. Whether you are, in a marriage where you have a commitment, or whether you are a politician and you have a commitment to your constituents, it's a commitment of truth. You take an oath, you take vows, you pledge to the public to be honest and true and to work for the people and to do no harm. And then when you abuse that and you betray the people, you don't want to face the public shame. That's why a lot of people continue to lie about affairs even after they've been caught. They don't want to deal with the consequences and they don't want to deal with the shame and what it actually says about them. These politicians have lied. What is the difference between lying to yourself and lying to others? Well, I think they're one and the same. I think that if you lie to others, you are lying to yourself. You're telling yourself that these people are going to buy your BS, and then you won't have to deal with the consequences, and you won't have to, deal with the pain of the matter. But the truth of the matter is that lies hurt no matter whether they're coming from a politician or whether they're coming from your spouse. It just hurts in a different way. These politicians have lied so much and for so long, I don't believe they are capable of telling the truth. I would ditto that. To maintain your office, you have to lie. I mean, you have to lie to be in politics, I think. How do people keep all these lies straight? I don't think they do, to be honest with you. I don't know that they do, and that's ultimately why people get caught. There's so many lies that eventually the people who are lying, they just can no longer keep up with all their lies, whether it's in the home or in the media or wherever, and they slip. And they say the wrong thing. And that's a lot of times how they get caught. because one lie leads to 20 lies, and so on and so forth. I have heard some people justifying lies about President Trump, saying the ends justify the means. Well, that's ridiculous. Politicians usually have a base that will believe anything coming from their camp. That is why, regardless of your political affiliation, you have to do your own independent research. And I would definitely agree with that. I agree, and that's how I've pretty much figured out the situation. I've figured out that the lies that go on by looking at raw footage, by looking at press conferences, by reading every article I can get my hands on, and then using my brain about what is the agenda? What is the agenda? Why would let's compare the agenda of a computer repairman who is just a little guy in the world, who happened to have the information on this laptop that was so upsetting that he had to turn in a laptop of Hunter Biden's to the FBI. I mean, what would his agenda, what could it possibly be? Couldn't be much. It seems like these career politicians in the media believe that if they say it enough times, people will believe it. And I would say yes, and that's exactly the way that you can build up a lie and strengthen a lie, is by telling the lie as many times as possible and telling it to as many people that will listen to it. And the more you say it, the more people go, oh yeah, well, Joe said he really, didn't have an affair, that, his wife is crazy and she's paranoid and she lies about everything. And he'll tell all his friends and family that, and then people will believe him. And once you throw a lie out there, you've started the sort of the doubt, the doubt of another person. And it takes a very strong person to go on their own, to do their own research, and to pay attention. And I think most people don't care about this, and don't want to hear about it, that they won't hear about it. And that what will happen is, probably Biden might get away with it. I mean, after all this story comes out, I mean, does anyone find it remotely interesting that after all these laptop stories came out, the story came out, that Joe Biden in the second to last week of a very heated, close election, that he would just disappear for 5 days? I mean, does anybody find that coincidental? I mean, I do. I'm not stupid. You don't take 5 days off in this campaign, really, ever, but certainly not in the last 2 weeks, because you're preparing for a debate. It doesn't take that long to prepare for a debate, and you're not going to no one in their right mind, unless they're severely desperate, is going to hide. And it's probably, going to cost, I think it's costing him the election. It will cost him the election. And he would have been better off to come out and face it. But he didn't, and he's not, and no one from the Biden campaign is denying that these emails aren't, or the laptop aren't legitimate. So they're basically saying, yes, this is Hunter Biden's laptop, and yes, these are his legitimate emails, because they know they can't lie about it, because Hunter Biden's buddies who are rotting in prison right now are going to turn on him. And so they're probably just hiding, and they figure I'm better off to hide than I am to even give any energy to this story. And then my family, the Democrats, and the media will continue the cover-up, and I can just run and hide. And I think that's what's going on right now. Let me see what the screen is asking me. In my experience, my ex was a chronic liar and a cheater, but he flipped it and accused me of doing the cheating. That is exactly what I'm seeing the Dems doing to Trump, blaming him and his administration for the exact things they're doing. Yeah, and to your point, if you look a little bit deeper into the political story that's going on right now, I think you have to understand that in the grand scheme of things, what's really going on here is a lot more simple than what people are thinking. And what I mean is what's going on between President Donald Trump and the Democrats. Basically, you have to look at the story. And the story to me is like a classic story of, somebody comes in and exposes lies. And so everyone who's going to be exposed is going to point at the whistleblower. And what I mean by that is like the Democratic Party, and I think the Republicans too, I think our elected officials have been able to get away with murder for most of their lives. And I'm talking Democrats and Republicans. And I think that the people who came into politics over the last 40, 50, 60 years, there was like an understanding that you have to play the game a certain way in order to get the support and the votes and the money that you need to stay in your political position. And that it was always just okay to live like that. And I think there was like an organized crime type of understanding that, hey, we, the upper echelon of Washington, D.C., we can do whatever we want. We can spend however we want. And no one is ever going to know. And we'll all cover for each other. And that's what we're going to do. And they did for a very long time. And then this guy comes in with a very big mouth who probably has very little to hide. I don't think Trump has, I'm sure he has some things to hide. I don't think he has a whole lot to hide. But he comes into this like a complete bull in a china shop. And he doesn't really care because he can use his own money. He has raised some money, but nothing compared to Biden. And I'm even going back 4 years ago, and he's not in politics, so he doesn't really care. So for him, it's to his advantage to expose all the years of hardened, institutionalized corruption because his agenda is to win. So if he can expose the career politicians and the career medium politicians who all work together for what they are, then it might help him win. And so that's sort of the angle he's taken. And by all standards, it's worked. But it's not what the Democratic people want. They don't want to be exposed. They want to continue as they've been doing. And here comes this really rogue guy who has no real interest in being a part of that institutionalized corruption. And he's calling it out for what it is, and everybody's freaking out because they do not want to be found out. They do not want to be exposed. And it happens all the time when you are sort of transitioning from the old to the new regimes in politics. This is what happens. It's been proven in history again and again and again and again. So what's happening in the United States, as crazy as it seems, is establishing a new order in politics, and it's establishing a new way of looking at things. So right now everything's chaotic because it's all new and it's scary and we don't know what's happening and who's telling the truth. But ultimately, things will settle down in time and there will be sort of a new expectation and a new way of doing things because the old way is really being exposed for what it is. I mean, I don't believe for 1 second that Republicans aren't just as guilty of lying and corruption that the Democrats are, but it appears that the Democrats have a much deeper, sicker, twisted, decades of lies and manipulation of the media and of the people to account for. And we're seeing that play out right in front of us. So don't think that, when somebody as powerful as the Biden family, and you have to remember the Bidens, were with the Obamas for 8 years in office, in the most powerful positions in the world. And don't forget that they had to run for office and raise money, and that they owe people favors, and that people owe them favors. And don't think that that doesn't go on. You're a fool if you think that doesn't go on. It goes on, and I think this unlikely laptop of Hunter Biden's is going to be something that's going to really blow up and explain to the people of this country what these politicians have been up to for quite some time. And there's a lot of people, powerful people, who could be implicated in this, and that is why you see all the lies and deflection happening. Just for your information, Bevan Cooney has been removed from the federal facility in Oregon for his protection. So for those of you who don't know, Bevan Cooney is one of Hunter Biden's former business partners, and he is the one that gave his password for his emails to investigative reporters, and basically is how all this information got leaked. And so I'm gonna pull it all together, the show together, in this way. In my professional opinion, as a person who studies human behavior, has studied human behavior for the better part of my life, who sits with human beings and pontificates over their motivations, I can tell you with a large degree of certainty that where there are lies, there are cover-ups. And where there are lies and cover-ups, there are webs and networks of more people that join to cover up and, lie about the people that they love or the people that they're close to. And anybody who's gone through families where there's lies and betrayal know exactly what I'm talking about. Anyone who's found out that their spouse was cheating on them, they know exactly what I'm talking about. Or a child who, did something and lied to the parents. This is what it takes to uphold and support one little lie that grows into 1,000 lies. And it happens every day in families and marriages. And it's what's happening in our political realm right now is nothing more than a larger scale reflection of that same human behavior that we see. One lie becomes 2, becomes 1,000. And one liar needs a couple of people to protect him. And on a grander scale, one person who lies needs a whole media and a whole political party to protect them. And that's what you're seeing before you. And so on that note, if you are concerned that there's somebody lying to you in your marriage, in your family, in your relationship, it's better to know the truth, because at the end of the day, all the lies are so hurtful. And the more lies that happen, the more hurtful and painful things become. And I don't think it's good to live a lie. I think it's much better to live in truth, because the truth will set you free. And when you're telling the truth, nobody really has any power over you. And if you really want freedom, you live in the truth of the matter. And on that note, I thank you for watching, and sorry about losing our song this morning, but we'll try again next time. I'll see you guys back here Saturday morning for Liz Live at 11 a.m. Thank you for watching, everyone. Have a great day, and always seek the truth.